Good morning. I'd like to call the regular scheduled meeting to the Board of Selectmen to order. It is Monday, June 19th, 8:30 a.m. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to ask Selectman Cartier to lead us, please.
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Cindy. Before we go on to item 2, we have to add to the agenda the Finance Director. I'd like to add that to 4.2. This is to receive the reports for the month of May. Do I have a motion,
So moved.
please? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's 4.2. Thank you. Okay, item 2 is a public hearing to obtain comments on programs that shall be included on a list pursuant to Chapter 228A of the Connecticut General Statutes Neighborhood Assistance Act prior to submission of such list to the State of Connecticut Department of Revenue Services. Anyone would like to address the board, please? Anita? Yeah. Please state your name, address, and the organization that you're representing, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Danita Averni, Program and Marketing Director for Shoreline Arts Alliance. I live at 3 Cobblefield Lane in Guilford. And just want to make a statement that we were grateful for the town and the state for coordinating this program to encourage the Connecticut C corporations to support nonprofits as well as energy efficiency. For the nonprofit sector, the CNAP enables us to outreach to companies for support of programs and services that are currently in jeopardy due to funding cuts. Our hope is that some of this deficit can be recouped through the support from these businesses, while at the same time providing them with a tax incentive.
Okay, thank you, Boone. Is there anybody else? Yes, sir.
Good morning, Selectman. I'm Wayne Jarvis from Lifelinks.
Okay.
And you guys and the state have supported our application for energy upgrades at our property at 2785 Boston Post Road. Moose Manor, historically significant building, energy nightmare, no insulation. We've been working on it for 4 years. We need a new roof, we need a chimney, and this program has helped us attract other funding to get that going, to provide a safer environment for our clients. So we just encourage you to continue sponsoring that program.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Who's next, please?
Good morning, Denise Rose from the Sarah Foundation.
Morning, Denise.
Thank you so much for all your support of Sarah and CNAP over the years. We actually have 2 applications this year, one for Sarah Inc. for improvements in their site in Westbrook, and the other one for Sarah Texas for improvements in their site that's also in Westbrook. Oh, I should say that, do you want my home address or do you want the business address?
No, the business address.
Okay, so it's Sarah Foundation, 246 Goose Lane, Suite 104, Guilford, Connecticut, 06437. Thank you.
Thank you. Denise. Is there anyone else? Okay, I will just state that we do have an application from Women and Family Life Center at 96 Fair Street, Guilford, Connecticut. And I don't see anybody here representing Women and Family Life, unless they're hiding behind the camera. I don't see them, okay? Okay, that's all the applications I have. Anybody have any other applications? There were ones in our packet. Is there anybody else that is representing anybody from any other organization? Okay, if not, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, public hearing is now closed. Okay. Item 3, public forum, limited to 3 minutes on any agenda item. Okay. Yes, Jerry.
Jerry Silbert, I'm chairman of the Guilford Green Committee, and I reside at 155 White Birch Drive. I'd like to thank the Board of Selectmen for allowing the Guilford Green Committee to comment on the policy with respect to the service of alcoholic beverages on the green. We had a special meeting and we submitted our suggestions, which the board approved. And I recently learned that a waiver is being asked, and I wasn't clear what that waiver was in terms of the policy. So I'm here to say if that waiver is requesting any changes in the policy, that the Guilford Green Committee would appreciate the ability to make comments on it before you make any decisions, if you decide to consider any changes to that policy. We're going to have a meeting actually this Wednesday, so if you are considering changes, we will consider them on Wednesday and get back to you as soon as we can. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Oh, one more thing.
Yep.
That I'll have to leave here before 10 o'clock because I have a physical therapy appointment. So hopefully I'll be able to hear what that waiver constitutes.
Okay, we should be here.
Okay.
We should be out of here by then. Okay. Anybody else wishing to address the board on any agenda item? Okay, seeing none, we'll move along. Item 4.1 is the approval of the minutes for June 5th. Do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Are there any additions or corrections? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. Let's approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, carries. Okay, thank you. Good morning. Okay, item 4.2, as we added to the agenda, the Finance Director, Mary Jane Malavesi. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, how would you like to start?
Expenditures,
Not with revenue this time, huh?
whichever you prefer. I happen to have expenditures on top, that's
Well, then
all.
we'll start there.
So we're reporting here as of the end of May, 92% through the year. You see our projections are in line with where we were last year, just slightly higher at 85.7%. As I've discussed in the past, the overages in debt and reval will be made whole at the end of the year with reserve funds that we have set aside for those projects, so they won't show in the deficit at the end. At this point, we are projecting to have a surplus at the end of the year based on where we are. Might not be as high as we've had in other times based on our current budget, but we are working closely with our department heads to make sure we stay within our appropriations. So unless you have any specific questions,
Is there an idea what the projected surplus is going to be?
I'd rather not put a number out at this point. Being my first year, it's been a little bit harder to project at this point, so I'd rather not put a number out and not be able to meet it.
And you're still working with department heads on the the open encumbrances?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
hoping to get most of those closed out by the end of this month.
Okay, so then, where we're looking at you said the reval, that should be back on budget?
Right, because the reval and the debt, we have money set aside in reserves for those, and those will be transferred from fund balance, those particular reserve fund
So the
balances.
798 and the 48,000?
Correct, will be zero, yeah. I believe we just made one more payment on reval, so that number's even higher at this point, which is why we haven't made the transfers yet. We need to wait till the end of the fiscal year to be sure
Okay,
that everything is done.
so that's all positive for us?
Correct.
Okay, we'll make sure that, okay. Any questions on expenditures? Okay.
Similar story on revenues. We are already over our projected revenues by $152,000. You'll see the $171,000 reduction in ECS. Here it is, right at this point, because we have sent the money to the Board of Ed for their excess costs. So now we're showing the $100,000 deficit in that line item. All the other lines are somewhat in line with where we were this time last year. Bottom line at slightly over 100% is exactly where we were at this time in 2016. So obviously by looking at this, anything that comes in June is only going to make this number higher, which is why we're able to somewhat confidently say we'll have a surplus at the end of the year.
Parks and Rec seems to be quite different than last year. Is there a particular reason?
I'm not sure. I have a note next to that too, but I wasn't able to reach
Being
anybody on
only
that.
a month apart, or a month away.
Right.
Be hard to make that up in 30 days, 15 days.
Well, the only, I'm guessing now, because Rick has
Timing thing.
been off. I think it's timing and weather. People haven't been too excited about buying beach passes with the
Right.
bad
That's
weather
gotta
we've
be
been
more
having.
than beach pass.
Yeah, and,
Okay, something to keep an eye on.
okay. The other thing I wanted to mention here was that you had told me, and I think it's worthwhile to mention to the rest of the board, that outside of the state announcing that we're short, that they will short us the $171,000 for this year on the ECS, is that the rest of the money that we're supposed to get, we will get.
Absolutely. We've received all of our other state revenue, so there's nothing outstanding
Cash
from
or
them.
check.
Yeah.
But they weren't talking about cutting it in 16, 17, they're talking about 17 plus.
No, 16, 17.
16, 17 too, which is why we saw the reduction
That's the
in
why we have the
ECS. And we
171.
also,
Right, no, I know that,
there
but they
was
weren't.
also a reduction in
Right.
the casino revenue.
Right.
But that was only about $8,000,
Yeah.
so we were able to make that up in other areas.
Right.
But we were concerned about some of the municipal revenue, the last payment that needed to come in, and it did come in May. So that was a concern of ours, that we might not have gotten it. And I think that was about $65,000, but it did come in.
Yeah, because at the last CCM meeting I was at, there was a lot of concern with the rest of the municipalities that were there, that they weren't receiving their payments. So
Right.
we were a little bit nervous about that.
Right. Until the check is actually here,
Yeah.
they could cut anything.
No kidding.
Yeah, well,
Okay. All right.
we were keeping an eye on that.
And, okay, any other questions on income or revenue? Okay.
Health report?
Yeah, insurance?
Yep,
We'll
the
move on to
insurance,
that.
the insurance is in front of you. You'll see that in May, we kind of bounced back and our expenditures came in much higher than they've been the past few months. May or may not be because of the HSA. At this point, we're still not sure, but that could definitely be one reason why our side of the expenses are higher this month, if they've used up their deductibles and paid their full deductibles at this point. So, and our catastrophic claims, as you can see, that our savings right now is almost equal to our premiums. So we've saved a lot in that area, which is, again, one of the reasons why our regular expenditures are slightly lower, but does force us to have an increase in our payment next year because of that. But bottom line, we are still projecting a $2.6 million balance at the end of the year at this point, and the closer we get, the more value that number has. So, should be
Okay.
in good shape.
And the prudent thing to do would be to keep balance approximately 1 month in there.
Absolutely no less than $1 million.
Yeah, well,
Mhm.
1.2 maybe.
Correct, yep,
Okay.
yep, yep.
All right. So if the state, for the 2017-2018 budget, cuts the funding even further than we have cut ourselves in our budget, this would be one source.
One place so that we could look. Mhm.
We, myself and Chairman of the Board of Finance have been talking about, so we've
Correct.
got a cushion there to rely on there.
Correct.
Any questions on the map? Anything else you want to bring to our attention?
Nope.
Thank you very much. Item 5, Facilities Engineer, Steve Nidoff, 5.1. Consider to take possible action to contract with BL companies for design of the town hall south boiler and HVAC upgrades. Good morning, Steve.
Morning. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Went on the town's approved architects list, put out to bid for design for town hall elevator and fire alarm system. Got the bids back, and I would like to go with the BL companies for $19,800. And the second one, want to do one at a time, or want me to?
Yeah, let's do
propose
one at a time, okay?
Okay.
Okay, all right. We've worked with BL before.
My department hasn't, but others have.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Okay, so you're asking for a motion to award the
Design
bid for
contract.
the design to BL
Correct.
company. Do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All right, any discussion on the motion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You two voted?
Yep.
Okay, okay. Carries. Okay, Steve? Item 5.2, discuss and take possible action to contract with BL companies for design of the town hall elevator, fire alarm upgrades, and that's for this building here.
That's what we just did.
No, we did for the town hall south boiler. Okay?
Karen?
Well, it's on the agenda. It's-
Right,
It's
right,
on
but
the
I thought we
That's
just
what
did,
you
I
did the
proposed the
fire.
elevator
Okay.
and fire alarm.
Yeah, you said the
Okay.
fire.
You said the fire, but the 19, yeah, okay. We'll reverse it. Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
And then,
I'm following the agenda.
oh, okay, I didn't have a copy of
Okay.
that. This is for Town Hall South for the boiler and HVAC upgrades. Again, it went out to bid on the town's accepted architects. And this one we're proposing for BL companies again at $10,620 to design that system.
If I could add, the standing building committee, they get involved in these issues?
These are too low for their threshold. Once it gets designed, they'll have to see it and okay it before it goes out to bid.
Is there a second? Second. Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, carries. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Okay, environmental planner, number 6, Kevin McGee, consider to take possible action on the recommended changes to the East River Preserve Deer Management Plan.
Okay, we had our,
Morning, Kevin.
good morning all. The Conservation Commission conducted their first management program this past fall, which ran October 15th through November 15th. Following that, they had a follow-up meeting, invited the hunters to it. Only 2 of them showed up to it. We also invited Harvey Smith, who was the chair of the East River Deer Management Committee, to also attend that meeting and listen to their concerns and advise the group there. At that meeting, several concerns did come up, ways to kind of improve the program. One was how to encourage applicants that will result in a greater deer harvest than the ones out there which are actually going to harvest the deer. 2, how to handle applicants that were provided a license that never showed up to hunt or only hunted a couple of days. Should these be allowed to participate in the following year's program? 3, during the safety meeting, it's brought up that the rules did not address when the tree stands could be brought out to the property and how to identify the location and where the tree stands would be placed during the scouting period. So there's a couple of concerns that came up. First year on the program, so it's not bad having like three basic concerns there. The recommendations that came out of the meeting through the group there. Setting a time period for the installation of the deer stand, such as allowing the deer stand to be installed during the scouting period, and that's the week before the harvest, the program starts. And that they provide the GIS or the GPS coordinates for the location of the stand, so we kind of know where they are within our property. Give preference to the participants that harvest the deer by allowing those that have a license next year. Basically shows that they know where they are and that they can actually achieve the result that we're looking for. Allow up to 3 applicants that assisted with the program to get a license. These would be ones that helped us with the proficiency testing, allowing them to get a license outside the lottery process there for their volunteer hours there. Then allow additional 5 alternates to be selected to the program. The alternates would be required to attend the proficiency testing and safety meeting. The alternates would replace an applicant that does not attend the proficiency testing or safety meeting. So that way it kind of carries the 20 number we're looking for. So if somehow somebody gets sick or couldn't attend or injured and couldn't attend any of those 2 programs, that there'd be somebody to kind of take their place there. The last one that was suggested was at a late season hunt in January to increase the harvest potential. 6 is one which I think that we can probably actually I numbered wrong here anyways. I should be 5, but anyways, it's listed as 6. Is one that I think we can wait for a couple of years and to actually see the results of the program a little bit more instead of trying to look at extending the season. This year it was actually a warmer October, which kind of messed up with the activities of the deer. Being warmer weather, they're move differently than they do when it's kind of cooler outside. So that kind of created a little change in the expectations of the program there. So
How elaborate is this proficiency program? So with the training, I'm a little concerned that we're just going to potentially give 3 applicants a license without the lottery. Kind of defeats the purpose of the lottery.
That's basically a portion of a day that's given up for these people to kind of attend and assist and make sure safety-wise and provide I mean, I can do proficiency tests and watch them, but I'd rather have a safety person that knows what he does be up there and conducted the training there. It's
well,
at least
somebody that's
activity
familiar
there.
With
bow and arrow
hunting process and everything.
Correct.
And I understand that and the value of that, but it really does defeat the purpose of the lottery. I mean, you show up for a few hours and you automatically get a license. I can see potential issues
Right.
with that,
Okay.
especially 3. I mean, aren't there organizations, rod and gun clubs and things like that that would assist with proficiency testing?
Yeah, we've been using the assistance of the North Guilford Club, which used to be the bow club over there. So.
I tend to agree with Selectman Haver on the item 3. And by the way, Selectman McKelvey sent me an email, and him and I had a discussion. He's okay with all of your recommendations except the last one, which you have number 6. It probably should be number 5.
Right, correct,
okay?
yes.
And I tend to agree with him there. I am not in agreement with extending the season, and he's not either.
Right.
Okay, just to pass his thoughts along, that would count as a vote.
Mhm.
But I would agree with items 1, 2, and 4, but not 3 and 5.
Okay.
or
I do.
6.
I have one more question. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, get ready. I'm done.
I do have a question on too with the preference too. I mean, are we giving preference, meaning they don't enter the lottery? If you've won the lottery one year, you automatically are in next year?
If you harvested.
So if you're successful?
If you're successful, correct. And last year, I think it was only 3 out of the 20 that actually harvested.
You're giving them Because that's the goal that we want.
That is the goal we want.
That's the goal. So that's the point. We're basically,
Unless from
they're
the
helping
deer's
us maintain.
perspective.
But no, but they're
It's like
making,
natural selection.
Unless you're a deer.
yeah, but the whole point of it is to manage
I
the
understand
land.
what you're
so-
saying, but it is
That's
natural
why you're giving
selection, the
them-
most proficient hunter.
Yeah, but you're rewarding them for their,
I understand.
Your skill,
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
because they're
We
helping to
could
maintain
end
the
up there,
property.
we could end up with nothing but the very best hunters every year.
Well, I think that's the goal.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Unless you're trying to promote the sport.
and the problem, the thing is, the group's not going after the sport; they're after the
Right.
Harvest.
the harvest to reduce, which reduces the further damage to the property by over browsing of the land there and the vegetation there.
Now, with regard to Joe's comment, number 5, about
Mm-hmm.
extending, the committee was in favor of this, correct? Or
The,
is it your
um,
recommendation? Not that it makes
That
a
was,
difference.
that came with the recommendation of the Conservation Commission. They kind of agreed with the group there. I'm on the feeling that that could hold off a couple years since it's the first year of the program. Really shouldn't jump into big, and that's a big change. The other ones aren't really considered big changes. I think would be considered a big change. I think we probably should watch the results for a couple more years until you, to
But what was
to
the
make that
basis of the
decision.
recommendation, though?
That was from some of the hunters, which felt that enough wasn't taken out of there.
Okay.
So it could be self-serving there on their side, but I mean, also it's the goal too, trying to reduce the number of deer. And they felt maybe a later season where it's colder and stuff, they can follow the prints, the paths, if there's snow on the ground, to know where they're going a little bit easier, I guess.
Are you seeing, like, in terms of management, like, that it's a problem with the amount of deer? I mean, do we need more
Yes,
clearing?
originally, yes.
Do we need, that would
Yes,
be the
and we
point
still
of
have to do, it's
extending.
gonna be 5 years really to know what change is gonna be happening, because vegetation grows a little bit slower when you're under a high canopy like that. And we do have three enclosures out there, which are, I'll be going out in the next couple of weeks to measure the height of what's the vegetation inside versus outside.
Because I guess what I'm saying is if it's not that we're having an overrun, I mean, I guess trying to see the justification for extending the time.
Right, and that's why I said it should like I said, stuff grows slowly. I think we should give it a couple more years
Okay.
to make a decision to go
That's what I'm
another
trying to-
season on
okay.
there.
Yeah,
Alright.
you don't change your parameters in the study midway, you know?
Yeah, I mean, in our program, the program said every 3 years evaluate
I just
the
thought
thing,
maybe
and I
there
think
was
that's a
like an
big thing that's part of
overrun.
the evaluation phase. I think some of these rules things in terms of our clarity in terms of when a hunter can set up their stand, I think that's a clarity issue that we have, but I think that is a bigger change in the program there.
Before we extend the time period, we ought to have full participation of the lottery winners.
Correct, I mean,
That's right, yeah.
yeah, because we went to, there were about, I think we had 17, which actually participated out there. We had 1, 2, 3, 4 of the participants, which were no-shows. Well, 'cause my staff was kind of monitoring the parking lots and had the license plates of the vehicles, and we kind of know who was in when. We had one participant that was there about 7 days, another one there was 11 days, another one 8, and a lot of the other ones then dropped down to, then we had another one at 5, one at 4, and a bunch of 3s or so there. So I said there was one which was really pretty eager there. He was out there every day. I think he basically worked evenings, so he had the ability to be out there.
So you didn't have the full participation.
Right, you didn't have the full
expected.
participation
So
there.
why extend the season?
Correct. That's why I said it's too early to make a decision like
Right,
that.
Okay.
okay.
So do we have to make a decision on some of these today, or
So
what?
make the changes 1 through 4, is that what we're?
Yeah, or make any changes you want. We can make a motion and then go from there. I mean, I'll make a motion that we accept recommendations, what was it? It's, what else, 3? 1, 2, and 4.
Second that.
Okay. Is there any discussion on that? That
Well,
eliminates 3.
I would just, why do you have a problem with 3?
Charles, I think, laid it out pretty good, that allow up to 3 applicants that wasn't part of the lottery. I think everybody should be part of the lottery.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's why we have it.
yeah.
But you want the people that are actually
Yeah.
good.
No, that one's number
That's
2 that
not-
you're talking
alright.
about. 3 is people helping out with proficiency program.
Okay, all right,
That's right.
okay. All right, then I don't have a problem with that one.
Okay. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Kevin.
Okay, and just say that we'll probably be having the applications ready beginning in July for those
Okay.
that are interested.
Karen, do you have all that on? Okay. Thank you. Okay, thanks, Kevin. Would you check with Tracy and Kevin?
Yep.
Check with Tracy before you leave. I want to see you and Rick later.
Sure.
This afternoon, okay, thanks. Item 7, Guilford Arts Center, Marine Building. Act on a request from the Guilford Arts Center for modification to the approved guidelines for alcohol on the green for the Guilford Arts Center Craft Expo, July 15th through the 17th, 2017. Did you want to come up?
May I bring DJ up?
Whatever you want.
Morning.
Morning, ladies.
So I'll just say thank you. We received approval for serving alcohol on the green at the Craft Expo. But we're here today to seek some modifications to the guidelines that were provided by the chief of police. And I think I'm going to let Dee speak to the specifics of it, because she's the Marketplace at Guilford Food Center is planning to be the provider of food and beer and wine, so.
Thank you. Dee Jacob, The Marketplace Emporia, LLC, 77 Whitfield Street, Guilford. First of all, we are very pleased to support the guidelines on the green that the Board of Selectmen and the Green Committee and the Police Department have so thoughtfully put together. As we look at this specific event, we believe that some slight modifications, still in line with the very intent of what we're talking about in these guidelines, be made so that we can continue to have a successful craft expo. I don't know if you have this diagram, but if not, let me pass, so I'm going to speak.
No, we don't.
Yeah, let me just give that to you.
Is this the layout you do every year, kind of, or no?
Yes. So,
With a suggestion.
if you look in the upper right-hand corner, there's a food court area in the upper right-hand corner. You see an area that looks sort of like a funky little letter here. There's going to be a fenced-in area surrounding the marketplace booth with an entrance right below where the tent will be. So the first area is, we're talking a fenced-in designated area that contains tables for food and beverage, as well as you have tables outside that area. I'm going to be speaking to that. So the current item 2 says that the entry to that area, that would be that opening, would need to be controlled by someone who's TIPS trained or has received similar training in detecting fake identifications and levels of intoxication. 3 says that area would only be restricted to people 21 and over. And 4 says all people within it must be 21 and over and wear wristbands. The modifications that we're seeking are specific, again, to the Craft Expo and the nature of the attendees. What we're proposing is similar to how we did it last year. There's actually going to be 2 sides to our table. The one inside, the side facing inside the designated area, is where we would serve beer and alcohol out of. And what we're proposing is that that beer and wine serving be strictly controlled, again, by TIPS trained personnel in the detection of fake IDs and level of intoxication for that area. Everyone who is served, anytime they are served, would be 100% carded and wristbanded. We would control the exit out of that area to ensure no beer and wine leaves that area. But what we're proposing is that persons of all ages may sit in half the seats for food and beverage, whether they're consuming alcohol or not, if they so choose. We would have always someone looking in this direction to have positive observation of what is going on those few sets of tables and activity, so that we are making sure, again, no beer and wine are shared. The rationale is, people pay an admission fee to come in. They're not coming into a beer garden. They're coming into the art center. And the intention of having beer and wine on the green with this is an accent to the food and the nature of the event. Very often, people who come to the Craft Expo come with grandma or little kids or whatever. And some of those people may not have an ID, which means the person who cared to consume could enter here, but would have to leave grandma, friends, children outside of that area and would no longer be able to sit together as a family. Or they could choose not to imbibe, which is another choice as well. The other thing is, and I know myself sometimes when I go to an event, I don't always carry my ID if I'm not intending to drink, which means, again, I couldn't have access to the seating. What we would like to do is again, the intention is a designated area, tips controlled and maintained, positive ID and wristbanding, and ensure that the likelihood that someone underage or someone who might have over-imbibed is not being managed. Just from a standpoint of last year, we sold more water than wine and beer last year because if it's a craft expo, it'd be 90 degrees and 90% humidity. So we respectfully request this modification, which we believe is in line with the intention of the guidelines specifically for this event.
I'll move the modification as requested.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Okay.
Can we hear from the police department and their reaction to this?
Sure.
Chief?
I'm kind of in the position that, you know, you're all going to make the decision on whether you're going to provide the waiver or not. When these initial guidelines were provided to you, they were provided as an overall, guidelines were overall for any event that's going to be on the green. You know, I think it would be kind of difficult for me to comment on whether it's appropriate or not, because as I said in the memos, I'm not going to endorse one event or not another event with regard to whatever guidelines you approve, but I'll work with whatever you guys decide.
Let me ask you this then. The modifications that are proposed, do you find them problematic or something that can work within? I mean, there's a certain logic to their rationale.
Mm-hmm. No, I understand that. And we've been speaking with them in the background, and I'm familiar with the layout that was just proposed, because we discussed that as a group. I can make anything work, but what I'm saying is I'll wait for you guys to make the decision and act upon that. The guidelines that I provided are not event specific. And my only concern is from the town's perspective, if you make exceptions, it's just something to consider where you're going to go with the exceptions. But I have no problem making this work if that's what you guys decide to do. It's just a caution with regard to.
I understand your point about exceptions, but my logic is this is the first time experience with this, so it could be considered a work in progress. So I want to hear from Jerry again, in the reaction to this. I mean, you said that your committee hasn't looked at it yet, but.
Jerry Silver again. No, we haven't looked at it. We're meeting this Wednesday, and now that I have what the modification is that I'll bring it to the committee and I can report back to you that day. We meet in the afternoon at 3:30. So I don't want to give you an opinion for the Guilford Green Committee until they meet. So I'm not giving you my personal opinion. I think this is a matter for the Guilford Green Committee to consider and see if they have any suggestions to this or whether it's okay with them.
Would you consider a modification to your motion to make it a condition of the Green Committee's decision?
No, because I don't think they should be deciding.
No, we
I
don't
mean,
decide, we only
yeah, they don't
recommend.
decide,
No,
but,
just-
Dee, let me ask you a question. This is exactly what you're proposing is what you did last year, correct?
We did not have a fenced-in area. So
Well,
the
it's
fenced-in.
It's much more controlled.
Much more
with this
controlled.
Let me
proposal
say
than
that.
last year.
So based upon what you did last year to this year, it's even more controlled, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yes, it is.
So, I mean, I don't mind hearing with the Green Committee, but, I mean, I don't see how that would
I
change.
appreciate that, you know, I don't want to put the onus on the Green Committee making the decision, but if they bring up a point that we should be aware that we haven't thought of, I mean, there's a certain logic to it, to everything they've said today, but to the chief's point, you know, we're modifying something. I'm not as concerned about the modification part because I see this as a first-time event. I mean, if we were 5 years into it, or a couple of years into it, and we were starting to do multiple modifications, you know, obviously that would raise as a red flag for me, but everything that they've stated here seems logical. I mean, it's more
And we're not
controlled than
requesting a
that.
modification to the guidelines.
Right.
We're, for this specific event, a waiver of the proposed
Yeah, this
change for
request
the
is-
event again, so not to change the guideline.
Okay, can I just say one?
Sure.
May I say one thing? I think what's very helpful about these guidelines is that the guidelines state that every single event can be considered individually, you know, the size,
Yeah.
type, and scope of an event. So I feel like maybe anytime someone approaches the selectmen with this type of question, that is going to, the nature of the event is going to have to be considered,
Right.
so there may be some modification,
That's
you know, every time.
exactly
That
what
was the
the
whole
chief was
point.
cautioning us
No,
on.
but that's the whole reason why
But
we did
that's the reason it's
that's the
written
reason
in.
why we wrote it the way we wrote it, Charlie.
That's
Why
what
we-
I'm- that's
At least
what
why
I
I
was
voted
thinking.
for it.
And I would agree that the language in that first paragraph would lead to that conclusion.
Wednesday at 3:30.
Understand when this was submitted back in March, I was asked to submit the guidelines, not understanding this was going to be an overall decision. So there was a consideration for events on the green, specifically the handcrafts at this point. And so I said, you know, these were the things that should be considered at the time. And then the selectmen approved this as an overall plan. Within that language is, as is pointed out, some considerations for size, type, and scope of events. So that could create some, you know, some questions as to what, you know, latitude you have in approving and modifying, et cetera.
I don't think it creates questions, I think it creates flexibility, which is what we wanted when we put this policy in place. At least that's why I voted for it the way I did.
My only concern is, in discussing this earlier, we were asked and we agreed to have input from the Green Committee prior to making any decision. And if we go ahead without the Green Committee's recommendation on this, then we're cutting them out again. I mean, I think the procedure is important. We have the overall guidelines from the police department to have an extra recommendation from the Green Committee, knowing that they don't make the decision, the Board of Selectmen does. I just think the procedure is important, and I think, I don't want to see the procedure changed just because I agree with the proposal from one particular group, and I do agree with them, but I'd like to see the procedure carried out. As we.
How does the timing of it affect your event?
I mean,
two,
If we
three
get a
days make
decision on
difference?
Wednesday.
If you guys, if it were voted on Wednesday. I think we
But we're
could-
not having a meeting,
I know.
Wednesday. I don't
When's
understand.
your
Yeah, but you could make the
meeting?
motion,
2
as
weeks.
Charles suggested, that we vote positively
Within,
with the recommendation from the, or after a recommendation of the Green Committee or something like that.
You know, I'm going to take everybody off.
what? What are you gonna do?
I'm gonna-
I could say
No,
something, but I'm just
everybody.
gonna let that lie.
Just like home. I don't think it should go back to the Green Committee.
I don't either, not in this context.
Okay. The Green Committee gave us their opinion, and we asked the police department to set the guidelines, and they have, and they've done their job. Now it's a matter of modification. The Green Committee, with all due respect, Jerry, has no business on this issue after you've made your initial recommendation.
Well, can I push back a little bit?
Let me finish, please, okay? When we start to tweak recommendations or their guidelines now, the Green Committee said they were in favor of the guidelines, and I think that's where it ends for the Green Committee. We can't have the Green Committee in on every aspect of everything on the green once you've given an overall opinion. So I don't think you should go back to the Green Committee.
Let me
Number one.
yeah.
Let me finish, please.
Yeah.
Number two, you've got to be very careful about tweaking these guidelines for every event. I mean, the expo, I'm not worried about. I'm worried about the next event. If we have guidelines and regulations set up that we voted on, I think we stick by them. So that's what I had to say.
Well, and I was just going to add that I don't think this changes the intent of what the policy is, and it's in keeping with the event and in keeping with what was done last year, even with more modifications. So I don't know. I mean, I think when we're looking at other things on the green, I do think to get some input from the Green Committee is important, but this isn't going to change what the overall intent of the event or everything is. So that's whatever.
Okay,
So I agree with Joe.
the big changes are everybody being in this fenced-in area, not necessarily being 21.
Yeah.
That's a big change.
The two changes is carding them as they enter versus carding them as they're served. That's the first one.
Okay, that was
It
gonna be
is
my-
maintaining visual control over the fenced-in area with the consumption of alcohol. And that since it's part of the tables that are available overall for our guests to Guilford at the expo to eat and drink, it is to not have it all be 21, so that if you're having empty tables in there but full tables outside.
Okay, that's the point I'm trying to make. I mean, the two big things for me and for you, from a marketing perspective, is the underage people being co-mingling, and who you have checking, whether you have. Now, for the mechanics of your operation, is that hiring another person or something for that checking an
it will-
entry versus having the servers? Is that the mechanics of why you need that change?
So two things. One is from a checking ID. If we have to check it at the entry, it means I have to put a person on all hours of the time frame who can't then be part of serving food and beverage.
I understand that. I understand.
But the second element is that, you go around this green and families sit together and other people sit together. It is a normal part of liquor permitting in terms of what you do. And so we're making this area kind of only a 21-year-old area.
That's question number two. I just want to get through the tips thing. How elaborate is this tips training?
It's a 4-hour training.
Okay, is there any reason why the staff of I don't want to tell you how to run your event, but, as far as hiring somebody versus having somebody from your organization receive that training and maintain that part?
It's dollars to have tips training, and it's dollars to pay people to be on site. And since
Yeah,
I'm
just
the
got
liquor
extra
permittee,
people.
I'm going to control who's
I'm trying to
doing.
find a way to work through without necessarily changing it. A volunteer couldn't receive that training and do that in a logical
They
way.
could, but
I
that.
wouldn't recommend that. I mean,
And,
I
and, and I'm the
Alright,
permittee,
okay.
I wouldn't have somebody
No.
that I didn't have direct control over doing that.
Right.
Okay.
No, it makes sense for them to provide the staffing to do it, and they do have the staffing to do it.
May I make a comment? First of all, I say it's brave of you to say things that everybody won't agree with here. But I would like the Green Committee to comment on this. I don't think it will be a problem with the time, because we're meeting on Wednesday and we can give you a decision then. And I do think it's important that the Green Committee be involved in these kinds of things on the green. It may not be a minor thing to them to feel that a decision is being made with respect to this, which they were able to have some input on, and now somehow another decision has been made without their input.
But Jerry, the logic, Mr. Mazza, was that, okay, the Green Committee weighed in, yes, no, alcohol on the green. I mean, that's really, the mechanics of how it happens is frankly, the police department. I mean, your decision from the Greens' perspective, no disrespect whatsoever, but it is yes, no.
I don't think so.
Mechanics,
I don't think so, because we came in with some suggestions that were different than, and the board thought that they were
I understood that,
reasonable.
and that was in developing the program and everything, but,
Right.
From a policy perspective, in my mind, I mean, that is a big change in the community for the Greens' use, and I think the Green Committee weighing in on that part of it was very important. But the mechanics of managing alcohol consumption, use, serving, or whatever, really falls under the police department, in my mind. I don't know where I stand. I don't, my problem is, I have to agree with the police chief, about changing things, but I really do think that this, to Cindy's point, was, it is a unique situation the first time, and we did know that each event is different. And I don't know, I think we better call for a vote. I'm going to scratch my head for a little while on it.
Call the question?
Can I just make one comment, just to, I don't mean to county on this, but the responsibility for the serving and the management of that falls with the vendor, not with the police. The police-
Controlling it. Maybe I'll plug that word in,
Yeah,
whatever. I
enforcing.
understand what you're saying.
Yeah, not
yes.
controlling, but if there's an issue, then.
Yeah. Supervise, whatever, some other word that I should have plugged in there.
Yeah.
And part of the guidelines is that the sponsor of the event is ultimately responsible for that.
Yeah. I understood it, I just don't know how to verbalize it.
And I would just say one more thing, if I may. I maybe am myself getting stuck on this, but I don't really understand why, I guess I would say that, I would imagine that every time someone comes to you potentially with a request like this, you're gonna have to consider the size, scope, and nature of the event. I don't necessarily think it's changing or tweaking so much as looking at each individual event. And I'm also gonna go out on a limb and say, I don't know that you're gonna get a ton of these requests. Because it's not, it's a big process to be able to do this with your TIPS-trained employees, and so that may or may not be the case. But in terms of looking at each event as they come, as a potential group comes to ask you, I think you probably will be looking at the individual natures, but.
Well, they have to come to us
Yeah.
for the exception to have alcohol on the green, period.
Right.
If
That's
they
what she's
come,
saying.
Right.
and if we grant the exception, they'll say, yes, but you have to follow these guidelines.
Right, exactly, whatever the particular.
But maybe the
That's the way I-
guidelines need to, part
that's
of the
the way I
reason.
see it.
Right. But maybe the guidelines need to even be increased depending on the nature of the event.
Right,
I guess that's the whole point of
exactly.
why we wanted like a
Yeah.
guideline, so we had something to go for. So that's was my understanding.
I called the question.
You call the question. The question is to modify the guidelines as proposed. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
For this event.
For this event, yes, that's correct. Question's been called. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Gonna make one comment.
yes.
The onus is on you again. I mean, because, if your event is successful and controlled, we've gone out on a limb. So,
Okay.
But the other issue is, it puts my permit in jeopardy if I don't do what I say I'm
Of
gonna
course,
do.
of
So
course.
we
No,
take this
I'm
very
just talking
seriously.
about an overall, this is a change in the community, and it's important that it's done as well as you've obviously spent some time on it, as we've tried to.
Good.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all. Good debate. Thank you, Chief.
I'll come in.
Okay. Item 8, St. George Men's Group, 8.1, consider and take possible action on a request to waive section 214-2 of the town code to allow serving alcohol beverages during the St. George Men's Group Golf Tournament at the Guilford Lakes Golf Course.
Kind
In
of went
September.
first.
Bob, you sure you want to come here? I may add, we've waived this every year for the last 3 years, was it?
4.
4, thanks, sir.
I move we waive it.
She's into it this year.
Listen, I don't know about the rest of you, I gotta go to work, so I move we waive it.
When, is there a second?
I'm making a motion.
Yes, I will second.
Okay, second, before we call the vote, when is this, Bob?
September 9th on Saturday, and the rain date's the 16th.
I'm not stopping conversation, I just wanted to get the motion out there.
Okay. Motion's made, seconded, is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Sorry I had to wait so long.
That's okay.
Okay.
I'll move, you want me to make a motion? I'll move 9.1 to 9.3 that we grant the request for use of the green and to put signs on the green.
Very good. All those in favor? Aye. Oh, I need a second. Who's the second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. We have no appointments, we haven't had either, and resignations, so discuss and take possible actions on the programs included in the 2017 Neighborhood Assistance Program, and that was as a result of the public hearing we had this morning. Somebody want to make a motion to accept all of the applications we had at the public hearing?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Correspondence, we have the building officials' monthly report, the Public Works monthly report, and we did have a letter from the Guilford Roadie for the Faraday Parade, which actually was just a courtesy notice. The Police Commission actually determines and grants permission for that. Okay, any questions on those reports? Okay, I did have a correspondence from citizen, from somebody in West Haven. I'll pass this on to you. She has an issue with the assessor, or we've turned that over to the assessor's office, and I'll send you copies of it. That really, the Board of Selectmen have no authority on this complaint. So if you're interested, I'll send this over to you. Okay. Committee reports, do we have any? I don't have anything. No one? Old business, Carl? You have anything? No, you have nothing. New business, do we? Have to act on this today? Oh, that's coming on the, under executive session. Okay. Public forum, limited to anything you wish to talk to the board about, 3 minutes. I see no one here, other than staff. Okay, we have 2 executive sessions, 16 and 17. I want to move 17 first because that should be easier, if you don't mind. Discuss and take possible action to approve additional sick leave for a GEA employee, and I will invite the HR director and our finance director to that. That's one motion. And
I'll move that.
okay.
You also want the department head?
Is he here?
She, I'll have to call right now.
Okay.
I'll
And
move
the
that
department head. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Item 16, discuss and take possible action to authorize appraisal of a property. We will invite the town planner and our economic development, and Kevin, and our economic development coordinator, and our, what's Kevin? He's our environmental planner. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are you going to do that one now?
No, that's, no. You can wait for that. The personnel issue is going to go first, okay?
Which one's one?
Okay, I need a motion on that.
I think we made a motion.
Second, all in favor? It's all
Aye.
right. Okay. Mike will come back for a vote on both of those, okay? All right. Okay, we need a motion to come out of executive session, please.
So move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, I think we have one piece of business to take care of?
I think, I move that we approve the requested time from the GEA employee as stated.
Okay, is there a second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Seeing no other business, I need a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you, everybody. We're adjourned at 10:10.